This is Music Off the Record. I'm Dr. Ken Owen from Pierce College. We're going to be talking about the music that's going to be played on the upcoming Northwest Sinfonietta concert, this one titled Bach Double Concerto. Now, the first composer we'll have on the concert is Stravinsky, so before we talk about the concerto, let's just talk a little bit about Stravinsky and his life. So Stravinsky was born in Russia. A little map there shows the point on it so you can kind of get a feel for where, up there, that north coast. He then spends quite a few years in Switzerland, and then a big chunk of his adult life in France. His father was an opera singer. There's a picture of him there in an opera role. I don't think he looked like that all the time. Maybe first thing in the morning, who knows? But of course, as a professional musician, he took young Stravinsky to many concerts, operas, sent him to piano lessons, all those sort of things. And in fact, the Stravinsky's goal for young Igor was that he become a concert pianist. And Stravinsky did enjoy time at the piano, but what he seemed to enjoy most was improvising, which is no surprise considering that he turned out to be a great composer. Now, he did go off to school. He actually spent a year in law school, was considering that for a little bit, and he met the son of the great Russian composer Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. And he got to go with that fellow student to go out and meet Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov and the family. There's a picture there. You see Stravinsky's on the far left, next to Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, the great composer, and the rest of the family over there on the right. And Rimsky-Korsakov mentored Stravinsky and helped him out until his career was launched by this next fellow he's next to. In this picture, he's next to Sergei Diaghilev, who was the impresario of the Ballet Russe. Now, impresario, think like executive director. This was the guy who was calling the shots, recruiting the talent, had, of course, the greatest choreographers and dancers around at the time. And it's a Russian ballet, but they were having a lot of success in France, which is what took Stravinsky there, and spent quite a few years composing for and working with the Ballet Russe. Now, after he's done that for quite a few years, he starts to take some international tours, as by then he's an internationally renowned composer. Those tours include a couple of tours to the United States, and we'll hear a little bit more about that when we talk about the Dumbarton Oaks Concerto, specifically for this concert. On those tours, he's assisted by a young conductor named Robert Kraft, who helps him out with a lot of things, including preparing the orchestra. Now, some of my professors that I had in my education actually played in orchestras under Stravinsky when Stravinsky would come through guest conducting. And according to them, Stravinsky actually, the genius composer that he was not the greatest of conductors, a little bit difficult to follow sometimes. So that's part of what Robert Kraft would do, is come in, prepare the orchestra, help everything to run smoothly. There's a picture of him and Stravinsky, the two of them looking at things on the podium, getting things prepared. So he's there in France taking those tours. At the beginning of World War II, I think 1939, Stravinsky, who is a widower at this point, left for the United States. The reason he's gone is actually because he's been invited by Harvard to come for a year in residence and give a lecture series. And he does that and stays there for a year. And then he just continues west and settles in West Hollywood for the remainder of his life. There's his home in Hollywood. And believe it or not, Stravinsky even has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. There it is. Not just movie actors, huh? In fact, funnily enough, there are several movies that include Stravinsky as a character or about his life. Most recently, the one on the top of the list there, Coco Chanel and Igor Stravinsky. There was one about the Rite of Spring, the ballet that he wrote that caused quite a stir, called Riot at the Rite. A couple of other movies about other real characters in history that Stravinsky had interactions with, and he's a character in those. So one of the greatest composers of the 20th century, certainly had a huge impact on the composers of his day and still on the composers of ours, and we'll get to enjoy some of that incredible work on our concert.